Well, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I haven't yet talked to somebody with your particular specialty, and I'd love to delve
Okay.
into why that is a specialty of yours and how that works. I'm myself a, chronic caregiver. Obviously, I run a rehab. I have all my staff and my clients. Like this is my like role in life. But I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how you've utilized that in your life.
Okay. Well, mine was not by choice. It was by default. So I think I've had more people say to me, I've always wondered why you didn't turn into a nurse, or I've always wondered why. And I'm like, why would I have? I had to start taking care of my mom when I was 5. Uh,
Hmm.
um, so I kind of fell into it. My mother was the first female. In the end, it wasn't known as Crohn's at that time. It was known as ileitis, and that was in
Mm.
1956, and she was 18 years old. So I wasn't even born yet. I was born in 1964. So my sister was born shortly thereafter. My mother was diagnosed, and then I was born 8 years after my sister. So I just kind of felt my sister had no stomach for no temperament, no disposition, none of the things that with you being a chronic caregiver, there is a certain disposition or a willingness to assume an attitude of caregiving in order for it to be successful. And my sister did not have that. And I think I just naturally had that. So
Mm.
I ended up from my parents were divorced when I was 3. And so it was just me and my mom. And they didn't even have any medicine for people with Crohn's disease or ileitis or anything else along those lines. I was
And
about,
also, I just want to
it's about
interject.
9
Also,
when she finally got some medicine.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I was also going to say, also, divorce wasn't very common back then, especially with small children. Like that wasn't like as common as that is today. So she had multiple
No,
things that
no.
she was contending with that were not typical.
Right. And, she was not only divorced once, but she was divorced twice. And then she
Mm.
had 2 kids from 2 different people. And then I'm in a little town. I actually did move back to my hometown in 2021. Um, you've got a chronic disease wherein the primary um, symptomology is not something that a young lady should walk around talking about. That's what she has. So you're not going to attract very many suitors.
Hmm.
Well, yes, I have this disease, you see, where, I have to go to the restroom quite frequently. And that's going to be my lot in life. Oh, do they have medicine for that? Oh, well, what do they do for that? Oh, they just cut me open and cut out a little slice of my stomach every time it blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, so I got 2 kids from 2 different people. I've got I've got some disease they don't know the name for. There's no medication for me to take. I appear lazy because I'm
Mm.
fatigued, so chronically fatigued, but that's not really what I am. But they don't know why I can't get out of bed on some days, like literally can't get out of bed, can't take a step up a stair. So I I fell into that role, and so it was very much a role reversal for many years. And then um, my mother had once they finally did have some medication that came along, it was steroids, and she did end up in a steroid psychosis and had a complete break from reality.
Mm.
And that changed the dynamics yet again, because at
Sure.
that point she didn't remember who she was, but I daggum sure did. And so then she wanted to change the dynamics yet again, and I'm all of 16 saying, "Hold on a minute, uh, I've been the parent here since as long as I can remember, and now you want to come be my parent? Well, I already drive. I'm already legally emancipated. I'm already, working full time and going to school. I mean, wait, you want to be my mom?" So, it was a necessary survival skill to be a good caretaker. It wasn't it, not that I didn't do it out of love, but I really did it out of survival. I learned the
Mm,
skills and I learned how to be a very good caretaker, really out of fending for myself and fending for the only person that in my world had ever taken care of me. And she was not well, ever.
mm,
So when she would be, briefly well for a year or two, she would do miraculous things because she was a phenomenal person. She's a horrible mother, but she was a phenomenal person. I mean, in 1969, she won 4 Addy Awards in advertising. That's like Mad Men, right out of Mad Men.
wow.
She was a book author, wrote poetry, songs. I mean, she was phenomenally talented. But it was short-lived because as soon as that stress level would get too high and the workload would get too much, she'd trigger her Crohn's and she'd be right back in the hospital dying.
Mm, mhm,
So, as I said, my caregiving instincts were not so much because I was so profoundly moved by her pain or her invalidity. I was moved because if she wasn't there, I didn't know where I was going to go, and she'd made that very clear when I was 5 years old and went to the hospital with my grandmother, and she told me she probably wasn't coming home.
mm,
They didn't think she was going to live, and my dad already had custody of his son from his first marriage, and he was a very troubled child. And my grandmother already had my sister, so my mom did not know where I was going to go,
mm,
and I think that was what spurned me on into, hey, I better be really good at this job
yeah.
in order for me to survive this. And so I
Yeah,
did. I became really good
it
at
gave you a
it.
purpose at a very young age, although, a heavy burden at the same time, but it almost creates that like codependent relationship where you need each other,
Yeah,
unfortunately, and you can't do it without each other. So that adds a whole nother element of
exactly.
stress to a relationship.
Yep, it did. And it made it very, very confusing and convoluted and counterdependent and codependent.
Yeah.
And, so and as I said, she knew it too, but she couldn't really help it either because she needed me. As you said, she needed me just as much as I needed her. I mean, unfortunately, I was a little kid. The part that I have as an adult struggled with more than anything is with the other adults in my life.
Mm,
And, you know, perfunctory as it was, nobody stepped up to do anything, including my father. And my stepmother did everything she could to keep us from, being having any kind of relationship and did a tremendous amount of harm to our whole family unit. So, when you look at it from that perspective, and then I've just released my first book in what's going to be a series. It's really more to draw attention to how difficult family dynamics are, and we have chronic illness is not even there's the statistics for it are just you can go from whatever statistics you want to go from. It depends on what you include.
sure.
So if we just talk about inflammation or, I mean, what do you want to include? If I include what I feel are also chronic illnesses like mental illness, or if I include um, substance abuse, where I'm including children's roles in these sort of situations, well, then I'm talking about a really large swath of our population that I want to people to understand that it doesn't mean you have to step in and do it all. But hey, if you're cooking dinner for your kid and your kid lives next door and the lady next door is already passed out from her bottle of wine from earlier this afternoon, just make the extra dish for the kid and take it over there.
Mm,
It doesn't mean you have to make dinner for him every night,
yep.
but make sure he eats tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what my movement, my
Mm,
book, now I'm retired, for lack of a better word. It's not really retired, but now I hung up the corporate high heels and said, okay, I'm going to do what I love to do now.
good for you.
And what I've been doing in a very small orbit in my world for 28 years as a professional and affecting as many people as I can. And now I want to show that there's plenty of other people that can do something small and make a huge impact because it's just not that hard, but a lot of people fear getting involved even just this much by, like I said, hey, if you've got enough dinner and there's just enough to go, and you know the kid across the street's mom's already passed out,
Yep.
just take the plate of food over there. I mean,
Do do you feel
those are the
like
kind of
though,
things that I'm
yeah, you're passionate about. I love that. Do you feel like because I feel like we have taken a huge step back as far as caring about one another's neighbors with the pandemic, because, with the remoteness and everybody, it was almost like fend for yourself, worry about yourself. You didn't have eyes on people anymore because everybody was home. And it almost just changed the culture to be even more contrary to what you're trying to put out there, stay in your lane, don't worry about this. And obviously chronic illness is like an all-time high because people were sedentary, not eating good, not, all the things. And I feel like I
all
love
the
that you're
things.
doing this movement because we're way worse off than we were 10 years ago in specifically regards to this, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I don't think, I think the pandemic just exposed the nasty underbelly.
Mm,
I don't think we were, I don't think we, I, did we get worse? I think we get worse every day. Are we reverting back? I think we have an excellent opportunity because I do see a pendulum swing back. And I think part of it is because we are now, I don't know how to, I don't want to say, what's that do? But I think now we're starting to say, hey, wait a minute, there's a whole lot of people in this world. Okay. Whether it be my world, I expand it a little bit and say the world, in the town over, and then the world in the town over, what
mhm,
world? How far do I effectuate a world? Okay, so that's what I mean by that. But in my world, I have people that are equally as passionate about what I'm doing as I am. So, for instance, with the initiative that I have, that's why I'm not, people say, well, what's the name of your company? I'm like, it's not a company, it's collective. It's a whole
mhm,
bunch of people coming together that are all as passionate as I am about certain aspects of what they've been doing for a long, long time. And they've all been caregivers in one way or another about something.
mhm.
It's what have they done? Have they done it in their community? Have they done it for their family? Have they done that's been their little piece of that collective. And so what I'm trying to do, it's only why not. I was on another podcast where this woman who's a psychologist she said, you know what I envision you when you describe this? And I said, what? And it just made perfect sense. And you're in my age category, so you'll probably remember, but you remember on Lapin, the switchboard operator?
Mhm.
And I don't remember if it was Lily Tomlin or not, but I think
Oh,
it
right.
was. But anyway, one ringy dingy and two ringy ding. Well, that's how I feel because it's not just one thing these people need. I wish it was. I wish it was just, hey, I'm having trouble understanding my insurance explanation of benefits in conjunction with what they've paid the doctor, and now I'm getting a balanced bill. Well, you shouldn't be because you're on there. They can't balance bill you. Well, then
Yeah, we are frozen.
along and educating people. Did it hang up on
It
the
it froze for about 30 plus seconds. Yeah.
millisecond? Okay,
So your services, your financial expertise that you were in 20 something years has
28
been
years, yeah.
yeah, valuable for this because nobody's problems are similar. So everybody is
Everybody's
experiencing like
different.
different types of issues. There's no like plug in one size fits all because everybody's situations are unique to them.
They are, and they're not always. I mean, there were a lot of times when I'd go out, and granted, some people might not have. Some advisors didn't have the natural bent that I did because I also had 15 years in legal. I
Mm,
also had a mother that we had to figure out resources as we went.
yep.
She didn't have health insurance. We didn't have any money. She was on
Yeah.
disability from the state. We had to go through Social Security and figure out how to get on to Social Security disability, she and I. All the things that I had to get my oldest one's neurodivergent. So, he was diagnosed with his first diagnosis at 4. And so I
Wow.
had both my mother and my son. Then I have one that doesn't have any diagnoses, although I am convinced today that he is on the spectrum. He's 35, convinced he's on the spectrum, but aren't all men. So, but, but, but,
I will neither confirm nor deny.
deny, I know. Well, especially when you're going through a horrendous divorce and he just ended up with that all over with. So, we can all, we can all surmise on that. But, but when you have, it wasn't like somebody handed me a rule book 50, I'm 61. It wasn't like somebody handed me a rule book 56 years ago and said, hey, this is what you have to do. That's not how that worked. I mean,
Nope.
when they called my dad when I was in school and said, hey, you've got to get your daughter signed in when you bring her here late. And he said, sometimes I don't have time to come in and sign her in. And they said, well, you're going to have to do something. His solution was not, okay, let's get there earlier. My dad's solution was to have me call the attorney and find out what you do to get legally emancipated so that I could sign my own paperwork at 13.
Yeah.
So
Critical thinking, which
yeah,
in today's times there's not a lot of that. Like the way the society and the world is organized now, they're not taught critical thinking. I mean, I
nope,
remember one of my best classes was in 6th grade where it was balancing our checkbook. That's how we learned math, positive, negative, overdraw, it was
exactly.
like the basics. And I don't feel like we're taught basics anymore, we're taught all this like obscure stuff that'll never be used again. So
Utilized.
people are
Yep.
not equipped to go into the world to handle these types of big problems, nor do they even know
That's
how
it.
to. They're like,
Well,
let
they
me
would,
ask AI. What does AI say?
and AI doesn't know because they haven't, it's all the information that people put in there. And guess what? You and me, we're not getting on Reddit and putting it in there. We're
Yeah.
doing it. We're living it.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do with this whole initiative, and we're in the right now we're presenting to investors for the first round of funding, is I want to build out, which like I said, what I've been doing on a local level, I'm trying to take to a higher level. And what I did for just family, friends, etc. For instance, with my dad, he was 91. He passed away in 2019. But before he passed away, he loved to play on the computer. He played, solitaire and all kinds of little card games. And but he liked to. He bought stuff. He was on it. Send emails, whatever. Well, he would call me sometimes at not the most convenient time and tell me that his printer wasn't working. And I would be in St. Thomas and say, I can't really help you right now. What light is blinking? And so I was able to locate a service called HP Friend. It was Hewlett Packard Friend for $10 a month that provided him with technical support. All he had to do was get on the computer and click an icon, and they would come on and say, what's your problem? And he would say printer, and they would dial in and fix his problem for $10 a month. Well, I found a lot of these little kind of things like that
Mm.
because I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they weren't available when my mom needed them, but then my dad ended up with congestive heart failure. Well, I have a ton of friends in my hometown. My hometown's relatively small. They didn't have any place that would prepare pre-prepared food for you. So
Mm.
I have a friend who's a restaurant manager. He started making food for them. So I had to bootstrap this for the times. It's now different. Like you said, we've had COVID. We've had to improvise in so many different ways. AI has taken off. So now what I've built and now want to expand is a subscriber service, for lack of a better word, where maybe the first rung is a couple of services where it's $17 a month, and part of that's tech support for grandma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then maybe another service is that you get a phone call with someone to be able to help you with going over your explanation of benefits for your bill that month with a doctor. Or we can wait on hold for you to, how you'll get put on an infinite hold with somebody. You get one
Oh yeah.
call of that a month, where we can do that for you. But the services would go all the way up to, and I do have some clients that are already on this level of plan, but that I actually attend foundation board meetings with them.
Wow.
So, but I'm licensed to do a lot of that kind of stuff. But that's what it's concierge level service.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things that it just depends on what you need people to do. Because the thing is, if you just go to a regular old financial advisor, they're like, oh, that's not my area of expertise. Well,
Yeah.
my area of expertise is kind of everything. I mean, it's been 15 years of legal, 28 years of financial services. I used to have people call me and say, where should I go buy tires? Well, I used to joke and say, do I look like I know where I'm buying tires? And I'd have people go, well, actually, you do. Yeah, but you really do kind of look like I should ask you where I should buy tires. And I would jokingly say, well, Duckworth Woods, go over there. And, they usually have 3 for $4. Just make sure you talk to Jerry, So,
Yeah.
but those are the things that I think there's a lot of benefit to creating and utilizing the AI age that we have, but it's only going to be as good as the people who are behind it and how much they actually care about what they're drawing out of it, because it's all about what you're pulling out, you know?
Yeah, I like that because like as we're talking about AI and internet, it's almost too much information where it's difficult to isolate what's actually the right solution. There's just an overwhelm. So it's like, compared to 25 years ago when we didn't even have the internet to now, it's almost the exact opposite, but it's still the same problem because,
Yeah,
you don't know who to trust. Is it those top 10 sponsored ads? Well, people are paying for those. That doesn't mean it's bad. That means what they
right.
have to do, but it also doesn't ensure that it's the right thing either because of, anybody could put
Well,
up a paid ad.
anybody
So
can put
it's
that.
very confusing. Yeah. What is
Yeah,
the right and what is the wrong and how do I get there specific to me?
right. And the other thing is, like, when you start, I mean, you can just really get somebody overwhelmed just depending on, I mean, it really doesn't even kind of matter what age they are. I'm beginning to find. Um, but you can really get somebody overwhelmed because when you start saying, well, what are all the, well, what should I use? And then somebody says, oh, well, I like Chat GPT. And then somebody else says, well, have you tried Perplexity? And then they say, well, what about Grok? You've lost them. You've already lost them because
Yeah.
right there, they don't even, they're going, okay, well, I'm just going to not use it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's great. That's fine. You don't
Mhm.
have to. That's the purpose that I'm placing and saying, okay, I want, if you would like, grandma or grandpa or disabled person. My son's 37. He's the one that came up with this idea, by the way. He did it 20 years ago. 20 years
Wow.
ago, he sat there and said, Mom, I know I am a huge burden and I know I'm never going to be able to work. And his biggest problem was that he was one of those unfortunate ones that the Pediatric Psychiatry Association had just decided that they could start giving children under the age of 18 the very heavy psychotropic drugs. So he was
Mm.
a lovely guinea pig. And so, then his chemical makeup is totally messed up. He won't be able to work. He's exceptionally bright though, and was then too. But it is what it is. But anyway, he was like, I know I'm a huge burden, and he said, but I wish there was just something that I could do. And he said, and I know this is 20 years ago when the computer was just getting going.
Yeah.
And he said where I could just people could call me. And I could just put the information in the computer for what their questions are because none of these old people know what to ask. Now, like I said, it
True.
doesn't matter now what age you
Yeah.
are. You could be any age. Don't know what to ask. And I could put it in the computer and it would give me the answer that they're looking for. Now, this is what he says to me 20 years ago. Well,
Mm.
that's pretty much what I want to do now.
That's
And I
amazing.
can with AI.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So,
amazing.
but the key on that is the prompts that you put in.
Sure.
And that's where people are like, well, I don't even know what to ask it. Well, that's let's start with just a small group of people and then we can grow that out to a bigger group of people. And I've connected with some groups that, there was a group of people during COVID that people decided that, they didn't need to work anymore. That group over 60 that
Yeah.
they kicked out and said, oh, let's go ahead and retire you. And those people that weren't ready to quit working. So they've now had to go out and start their own companies or take jobs that they didn't want to take because their standard of living has suffered. So I've connected with an organization that has actually done some great studies on. There's like 8,600 workers that started their own companies, which some of them are doing these kinds of things, making calls, going and picking up people's groceries.
Yeah.
So kind of plugging in there and seeing if this would be of any interest to him. So it'd be because it'd be more homebound. Just trying to be creative with trying to pull people together who have those natural caregiving instincts. Covenant House is another area that I worked with many, many years ago, the homeless teen
Mm,
population. And, most of them are in situations because of being in an abusive situation, or they have, unfortunately, they do have some sort of diagnosis, misdiagnosis of a mental illness or an anxiety
yeah.
disorder. So I was on the, I had worked with the house in New Orleans. I was on a committee for them for many years. Well, my son was very, mainly because of the grace of God there with my kid. But they have to have in a program where they actually have a job while they're completing the Covenant House program and getting through school. So I'm in contact with somebody I used to work with up in New York, and she does a lot of work with them. She was actually attacked by a homeless teenager, and it caused her to really get involved with that program. And so we're working with them to try to see if we can implement
Mm,
this as being one of the job skills that they could do, like you're talking about, things that are real life.
yeah.
But they're going to know if somebody calls and says, "Where can I find?" Chances are, I know it sounds strange, but a homeless teenager in that city is going to know more than that person sitting in that house, in that
Sure.
apartment, of where to find a real life something. You know,
Yeah.
Kind of crazy,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
so
How many people do you have in your collective now?
well, let's see. I'd have to probably have to sit down and really break it down. Because we're doing retreats as well. We'll have our first
Mm,
retreat in April. Um, there's several components to it. So one of the things that we do is it's called the Family Love Letter. It is basically a tool that we utilize to help. I do target, for lack of a better word, caregivers because they never. It's kind of like the contractor who never gets his house built. It's kind of the
mm,
caregiver who never gets their financial life organized. And
yeah.
so the Family Love Letter is a tool that I uh, launch and then help people get their financial life in order, so that if they ever did pass away or become incapacitated unexpectedly, that information would be there for their families, and it would keep things less confusing and not quite so Chinese fire drill.
Yeah.
And we do
That's
complete
nice.
that. I do handle one of those at a retreat, and that is a family love letter retreat. And that one is going to be in Colorado. We hope to pull that off in April, mid-April. And then I do host some dinners for that too. So I have different people doing different things with me. The retreat, I have a friend of mine that was a nurse educator for 20 some odd years. She retired. And so she's helping me with the retreats. And she's got two friends. One was a doctor, and his wife is a nurse practitioner. They retired and they opened up a wellness center in Lafayette, Louisiana. So they're helping me put together the retreat. So in addition to having the
Oh,
financial part of it, we're going to have the spa services where you can get massages. And so in addition to it being a having a 4-hour session for you to help get some of your financial things organized. You have other things, we'll have other fun things to do there too.
that always
But
makes it a whole lot better. Do a little work, have a lot of fun,
yeah,
get some R&R. You could justify it. It's
yes,
a
yes,
write-off on your taxes, but you also get some massages, which is nice.
yes, yes. And that is really the perpetual caregiver. It's
Mm,
renewal resources, and that's the whole purpose of it, is to be able
yeah.
to really get some respite and to be able to to renew, because that's the whole thing, is that if you, as you know, being a chronic caregiver,
Mhm.
when you burn out, nobody's good.
Yeah.
They've always said in the old days, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. But there's a reason for that, because mama was always the one taking care of everybody.
Yeah.
And when mama was sick, nobody was well. So I think this really goes a long way. And I've actually got some men who are taking care of their spouses, many times wives who have Alzheimer's, and they're just wiped out. I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
natural position for them to be in anyway. So it's been equally as well received by some male caretakers as well. So
That's
I
good
think
to hear. That's good to hear because you're right. We're always male or female. We're the last ones to take care of ourselves, when really it should be the first thing, like the putting on your own air mask. Like you got to take care of yourself so you're best for everybody else. But it's easy to sacrifice that when you perceive that everybody else is more important than what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think, and for anyone who's interested in kind of looking at what that
Mm.
entails, the things for the family love letter are things like you don't think about, like um, things people don't think about putting into it's a document. It's really a 40-page book, but
Wow.
it's things like your passwords to your computer. Your
Hmm.
do you have a storage unit somewhere? How do you think storage wars got started? Well, it got
Hmm.
started because people forgot to tell people they had storage units. Do you have are you in the military? Do you have military benefits that do you can you be buried in a military funeral? Well, you better have your DD 214 if that's the case, and somebody better know where it is because that's the only way you're getting that military funeral. Do you have a safe deposit box? Well, there's a key that's going to need to be, and you can tell somebody all day long it's over in that drawer, but when you go, they can't find out which drawer you meant when you've just motioned over to the kitchen. And we're all assuming you mean that one with all the junk in it. Well, I've got plenty of stories to share with you of people who never found what they needed
Sure.
and never got what they were supposed to. Digital
Yeah.
currency, the law on that is if you don't have the password and that person passes away, guess what? It reverts back to the digital wallet holder. You never get that. You can't probate that. So there goes however much that was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's really it's not just creature comfort. It really is a necessary evil that if we really want to be um, a good caregiver, our first thought could be, hey, I don't have to do this all at once. And really, the reason that I do it at the retreat is because I used to be able to do it in a workshop.
Mm.
But Angie, people won't give me that much time over the course of
Mm.
a month now. I
Yeah.
can't get 4 hours out of somebody in a month now. I have
Crazy.
to take them away and get them to spend 4 times what they would have paid and take them away for a whole 4 days now when all I need is
And
four
give them
hours.
massages and holistic food and
Well, they pay
yeah.
for all of it, but it's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever you need to get it done. But
Yeah.
that's really just the world we live in now. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got to get their complete attention off of
Yep.
everything else to say, this is so important. And I'm not even getting documents done. I've still got to send them back to say, you need a will. You need,
Yep.
medical power of attorney. You need advanced directives. You need general power of attorney. I still got to send them back in many instances to go get those things done with an attorney.
Yep.
So the work's not necessarily done, but
It's
at least
not. It's not. If
yeah,
I could tell you a story, yeah. A few years ago, I had a life or death incident, and what came to me is like, you got to get your affairs in order. Like, you have all this stuff going on, and nobody knows any of it. And if anything happened to you as a perpetual caregiver, all of these people are screwed. And so I, hired this, did this, but you're right. Then I stalled out because I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of freaking work. Like, I don't remember all these passwords. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to put in a will. And so it's like I was on fire to do it. And then I hit the work wall of
overload.
practical application and overload and dropped it all. And now it's been another couple of years and I'm back to that point going, man, it's my obligation as a caregiver to ensure that the people that are depending on me, even if I die, will be taken care of. And if I don't do this, it's going to fall into the state's hands, whoever's hands, and then it's up to them, and then everybody gets screwed. So
Everybody loses. Everybody
everybody
loses.
loses. So I
Yeah.
love that you're doing this because you're right. As it is a lot of work, but it's necessary work. It's got to be done. Got to get your ducks in a row so that God forbid anything happens to you, the people that you care so much about and you're doing all this work for are going to be taken care of.
Well, or at least here's the thing. I love my family, but the one I don't like is Uncle Sam.
Right. Right.
He deserves no more than what he
Exactly.
already makes me give him. And I can totally appreciate the fact that there's a lot of people who don't want to bust their buns like you and I do on a daily basis to have a business because we want to make a difference, even if it's in our own little lives, so that we feel better about our own selves. Okay. But
Yep.
I don't want that to just because I didn't stop long enough to get that done. I don't want that to be the excuse. So a couple of my compadres over the years, we've all kind of done this same sort of model. And that model has, now I'm, like I said, I'm trying to evolve it into a more simplified version so
Mm.
that, for $225 a month, somebody can subscribe to me, my service, and say, can I pay you $225 a month, Shelly, and get an hour of your time every month without fail till I get this stuff done? Because it's weird. Just like with going to the gym.
Mm.
If I'm paying somebody my son's a personal trainer, my youngest one. If I'm paying a personal trainer and he's going to charge me no matter what, I'm probably going to show up.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
I
You
ain't
need
going to
skin
be
in the
happy
game.
about it.
Yeah. You need skin in the game. Yep.
So that's why I said these subscription service pieces that I'm building go everything from, you know, tech support for grandma
Hmm.
to, can you work with me? I need to set aside this amount of time, this for this length, and I want to work with you this way to get this done. What does that look like? And it's not because people aren't smart enough to do it. It's hard.
Yeah.
Oh, let me just finish. I've been writing literally those first two parts of that book have been finished for 20 years. That last part, which was, the last part of my teenage years, I would get so depressed I couldn't write it. So finally I hired a ghostwriter to help me with that last part.
Yeah.
And yeah, because then I could fall apart afterwards, for 2 weeks. I could, do whatever I needed to do, crawl under the chair, whatever I needed to do.
Yeah.
But I got it done. And it's
Yeah.
going to help so many people because it's now making a platform for me. It's an ecosystem. I don't care whether you find me because you read my book, or you find me because I did the family love letter, or you find me because I've been on your podcast, or you find me because you got on my webpage, or you find me because I just won some social impact award. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care if you found me because that's the press release that just came. I don't care. It's an ecosystem. Find me. Then start utilizing some of the tools and resources that I have out here. And if what it takes is for somebody to say, okay, I need you to work with me for an hour a month. That's all I can afford. But can we work together an hour a month
Yeah.
and get this thing done?
Yeah.
I can give you a lot of homework. You know what I'm saying? You can get a
Yeah.
lot done in an hour a month if you just know I'm going to come to you in an hour a month and go, okay, what'd you do?
Yeah. Yeah. And the follow up. That's like so important, as well as the accountability piece. Because again, I could like be like, yes, I'm going to do this. And a month slips by and I'm like, I totally forgot I needed to do that.
Right,
And so you
right.
need that like constant like repetition of somebody checking on you. Did you get it done? Have you done these things? Where are we at on this?
Well, I'll
Yeah.
give you an example in some of the ways I do it for myself. Okay, so when I was going through writing my book, and I am a freak about, because the town that I live in here, where I was born and raised, there is zero humidity. You understand me? Zero. So here, my mother was a total freak of it too. She used to put vitamin E on her face. Well, when we moved back here in 2001, I mean 2021, I watched, literally just standing in the mirror, watch my face turn to granite, just aging. So when I was writing this book, I just totally fell out of my routine of like putting
Yeah.
stuff on and all that. So I told this girl that had started doing and it's weird here too, because everybody charges an arm and a leg. Like I could find an esthetician in New Orleans to do my face for $35. They were walking over each other to try to find, somebody to please let me do your facial. Here, $300, for an hour. I mean, that's crazy because everybody wants it done.
Yeah.
Well, I quit doing that for a while. And so I told the girl that's doing my facials, I was like, I will pay you $5 a day to text me at 9 o'clock to remind me to do my face. She was like, what? I was like, yeah. I said, because you know what? I'm an idiot. And if I don't do that for 30 days, I'm not going to remember. It's been so long. It had been
Yeah.
like 6 months or so since I've been writing the book.
Yeah.
She did it. I got back on a routine. And she literally took pictures over the course of like the 90 days. She was like, I cannot believe that. And I said, that's just because it had muscle memory. Believe me,
Yep.
if it had just been a brand spanking new person, it didn't look bad. But it's the same thing. So when I do these things with these people, I'm usually texting them, especially if they don't have a habit of, doing what they need to do. Sometimes I'm seeing them because there are a lot of times they're close to me. But, it's like, so how you coming along?
Yeah.
How we
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah,
So they get a couple of reminders in between. And, I mean, it's, it really, I don't make it, um, like a chore.
that's good.
I don't make
That's
it like
good.
a
It
chore.
just takes consistency. I mean, that's how you build a habit is you need the consistency. But if you struggle with consistency, you're never going to build the healthy habit. So that's where you need that built in. And usually it costs accountability to be like, okay, I got skin in the game. I got to get this done. I don't want to pay for nothing. So I'm doing it. And then all of a sudden you're like doing it on your own and you're like, wait, how'd that happen?
It
Yeah.
becomes behavior management. And
Yeah.
that, in fact, if you go to my LinkedIn page, I've got a case study on there from
Oh,
somebody that I started in 1997 with. It's when I first became an advisor, and his goal was to retire with $1 million. Well, we did it.
yeah.
He made $55,000 a year. He had less than $10,000 in savings. He was, I mean, literally all the way to it, and we retired him last year with $1 million.
Amazing.
So but it wasn't like we did something un, crazy with his investments. It was me teaching him taxes, teaching him how to manage his credit, teaching him how to leverage his investments, teaching him how to, when he wanted to buy a house and he didn't have as much as he needed to make the payment, teaching me how to, I taught him 72T on taking out some of his 401k and using it to supplement his payments. I mean, just stuff like that, that he wouldn't have been able to do, leverage, know, and life give him what all he wanted without utilizing and leveraging some of those. But it was behavior management that got him where he was at.
Yeah.
That's really
Which
what
is
got him
key.
there. Yeah.
And that's what so many people need because there's that paralysis by analysis. Like, let me look at everything. I don't know what to do. And then they just end up doing nothing
Doing
because they
nothing.
can't figure it out because they're overwhelmed by not knowing what to do.
And that was part of the epiphany that I had, and why I think I've been effective, not just with the financial aspect for
Mm.
my clients. It's because a lot of times they would call me and they would think that what their problem was at that very very moment was something financial. Well, I'm just going to call
Mm,
Shelly. I need tires. And then I go, okay, 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 okay. That does not sound like a tire problem. Tell me what's really going on. And then they'd say, well, da, 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 da. Okay, well, how did that start? Well, because of blah, blah, blah. Well, then what happened there? And then that, and then this, and then that. Well, the real problem is that your kid got kicked out of school and you don't have a place where you can put him in school because they don't let anybody put people in mid school in the middle of a semester.
yeah,
So what you need is a place for your kid to go to school, because it would usually, because my kid was special needs. 9 times out of 10, the one that's calling me is it's so it's their kid's special needs. And I'm like,
yeah,
so let me give you the name of the guy that I had to have my kid take classes from one-on-one when he got kicked out.
sure.
It's super expensive, but it at least gets you through the semester.
Yeah.
And they go, oh my God, thank you so much. And I
Hmm.
go, so it wasn't the tires, huh? No, that was the problem right now because I got a flat tire. But the real problems, I've been reeling for a week over my kid got kicked out of school.
Yep.
And this was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and you're so right. When people are in crisis, it's difficult to dissect what's like really going on unless you're with a trained professional who can like dig in there and get to those things. And then, like you said, I love the expertise because when someone's in crisis like that, and obviously I see it all the time with people who call into us, they
Yeah.
don't know what to do. They're like, just tell me what to do and I'll pay it if you can fix this or help
And
me with it. It's such a pain point that people need it in especially in times of crisis because they can't think straight. They're not sleeping good. They don't know
no,
what to do.
no. And that's really, and that's why I think that, and I do have some male counterparts who are really, really good at distinguishing
Mm,
and discerning this too. It does fall many, many times to the females, but that's really because a lot of times we've had kids, or we've had, sisters or brothers that are coming to us, woo, and we're like, okay, calm down.
yeah.
Just chill out. But I think most of it is being able to, and in my instance, I know it was because I had to get to the root of what the real problem was in my own personal life when I was dealing with all these emergencies. Because if all I had done was look at, wow, the electricity is getting I was paying the household bills when I was 13. I had my own checking account. My aunt dropped me off at the front door of, while my mother was in the mental hospital, dropped me off at the front door of the biggest bank building in town and said, just go right in there with your child support check and they'll open up a checking account for you. Well, I think she didn't think they were going to do it, but she didn't know my dad was on the board of that bank and they opened it for me.
Oh,
So, which I was like, I can't believe they're doing this either. But guy made a call. I'm sure it was my dad, and he said, "Yeah, do it." So, but I had to at times say, okay, we've got $110 left in the checking account. We only get the child support check once a month. I've got 16 days left. I need to pay the electricity bill and the gas bill. Got to have gas for the car for 2 weeks. And now I'm doing this at 13. And we got to eat something. Now I did go to my grandmother's house every night. We went to my grandmother's house every night for dinner. But but that's a if all you're doing is putting out the crisis, the fire, because your thought right then is, wow, I'm hungry. If all I do is go buy something to eat and I don't take into account that I've got two bills I got to pay, I've got to put gas in the car, I don't get another child support check until then. Let's say my grandmother's out of town, so maybe I just have to go over there and see what's in her refrigerator. So
hmm.
that's what builds those skills. Like you said, the critical thinking skills.
Yep.
And as I was writing the book, I was thinking about how many times in those scenarios I was having to do critical thinking. And it was just so second nature. And I was thinking, some of the times I was thinking, man, there's some kids out there that are making way more important decisions than what I was making. And then on the flip side, I was thinking, man, there's some kids out there that have never had to make even a remote. It's this huge extreme, like there's this one set of kids that are having to make life altering, life or death decisions on a daily basis, and this other set of kids that don't even live in reality.
No, they're like, Mom, how do I turn on the stove? Mom, when are you
Well,
going to be home to make food? I'm
my
hungry. Can you
my
leave
bro
work to come home and make me food?
or, oh my god, the microwave broke. It's like, okay, well, do you know the thing that has a flame on it? Well, my son showed me that my 37-year-old showed me this YouTube video last week, and it was this girl saying, you know what would be really neat is if we had a stationary, like a phone that didn't go anywhere, and it was just inside your house, and it had a wire that never could come undone.
That's cute.
Yeah, I was really like, oh my god, and they breed. So you just
Yeah,
sometimes want to
but you
say,
know what's crazy about that is they have the price on a landline has gone up so much that nobody can afford it anymore. And so that's why we just don't even have that option anymore. 200
I
bucks
know,
for a landline I may or
like,
may not
right.
use. Like that's crazy.
I know. Well, and actually, I saw something the other day that was saying we can now, but you got to go voice over IP. So it's like, again, going back to
Yeah.
how do we get this information out there? So one of the other things I'm doing is I've got a
Mm,
YouTube channel that we're getting ready to launch. I've got them doing the shorts now from a lot of my podcasts. And
yeah.
I'm also going to be putting information on there, like, for instance, insurance. I can't tell you, I have spent hours with people who are super smart, like CPAs and stuff, going over what their property and casualty insurance, like, what's that? Well, that is blah, 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 blah. Well, why hasn't anybody ever explained that to me? Well, I don't know. Maybe they didn't, maybe you didn't ask. Maybe they didn't sit here with you for 2.5 hours going over your homeowner's quote. I don't know. But that is such an expense right now for people.
Yep.
Homeowners insurance, car
Yep.
insurance.
Yep.
I sit there with people and explain to them the definitions because they come to me and go, why did I just have to pay another 15? I had somebody literally just say to me, why did I just pay my deductible plus 18% for a new roof? And I said, because that's the amount that they charged you for co-insurance of the amount that they decided your roof was depreciated. Well, how am I supposed to know that? I said, well, you could read your policy, you could read your deck page, or you could call your insurance agent,
Yeah.
but it's a new thing. So those are some of the things that I'm going to go and put on my YouTube channel so that
Love
people
that.
start to understand
Mm,
when they say, I don't understand why this is so expensive. I
yep.
can't tell you how many people I have calmed down just by the funny thing is I just sold my PNC agents because I'm not going to deal with that anymore. But every single person for the 2 years that I was brave enough to step out into that world, nobody's rate went up. Everybody's rate went down. It might only go
Mm,
down by $1.25, but it's because I would sit there and go through every single screen. How much carpet do you have in your house? 75% carpet, 25% tile? That's what we're going to put in there and price it right.
yeah.
But that's not what people do.
No.
That's not what agents do.
No.
That's not.
No, because they're paid on a commission, right? So they're
Well, I
incentivized
don't even
that
think
you.
it's so much. I wish I could tell you that that's it. But what I can tell
Oh,
you
that's
is it's
not it.
lazy. It's
Yeah.
lazy.
Yep.
It's really just lazy because the carriers set everything
Mm,
up for an automatic default.
mm,
What does that zip code
yeah.
normally have? So that zip code gets a default, 75% carpet, 25% tile, whatever
Yeah.
grade of home they get. And in order for you to price it appropriately, you've got to go in and actually spend 2 hours with the client. Now, PNC was not my specialty. I actually dealt with high net worth clients. So I did go in because I was in Hurricane Katrina
Mm,
and my high net
mm,
worth clients all had maxed out flood insurance because I knew what they had to have. There were a lot of my friends, though, that had other insurance agents that were high net worth that said, why didn't I have $1 million worth of coverage? Why didn't I have 500,000 worth of coverage for my home? Why did I have a million for my business? Well, they didn't tell you needed excess flood. Well, why didn't they? I don't know.
yeah.
So it's a lot of it's just knowledge, and a lot of
Yeah.
it just needs to be out there. And so where do we get that? Somebody's got to devote the time to it. So that's why I said I've retired, and I'm wanting to do this, and so now I've just got to find all these other ways of subscription services and retreats, and I'm creating this ecosystem, books and whatnot, so that it will, hate to put it this way, feed the beast, so that
Yep.
I can put out a lot of cheap and or free content that just ingratiates or embetters their ability to get educated and pull off what
Empowers them to have the knowledge to be able to make good decisions.
yeah,
I really hope, and because, due to my line of business, one of the biggest things we struggle with is people's health insurance paying for rehab, co-insurance, the deductible, all the different things. And we're not
yeah,
experts, and nor are we allowed to guide or tell them
no, they're not
because of,
licensed.
we're the provider, but there's so much misunderstanding and confusion, and people are so upset. Like, wait a minute, I'm paying X amount for my plan and you're telling me it doesn't even cover anything, or you're
Right.
saying I'm paying this much for my plan and I still have to pay this much. And
Yep. Yep.
there's just such
That's the
a
definitions. That's the
100%.
definitions.
And it changes every year. Every new policy. You thought you knew exactly what you were doing. Guess
Yep.
what? They moved the goalpost. Now you don't know
Yep.
again. And you're operating like know what you're doing.
You
And
know
it's all
exactly
changed
what you were
again.
doing. Yep.
Yeah.
In fact, I just told my husband, I mean, he wants to have rotator cuff surgery. And this past year, I had us on an HMO, which for the most part served our purposes. We like pretty much everybody who was in the network. But and our orthopedic surgeon is in the network, but he's really old, and I don't know if that's really who we're going to want to see on his shoulder this time because we aren't sure if that's exactly what's wrong. So I told him, I said, hey, just so you know, January 1st we got out of network benefits, but it wasn't so much that I thought we were going to go out of network, but what if we want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to pay a huge $15,000 out of network before we get any benefits. But hey, if it's something really bad, I'm willing to make a payment arrangement to get that sucker done.
Right.
So it really does come down to most people are okay when they know what to expect.
Yep.
It's level setting expectations. And as a manager for 11 years, and then as a trainer for 14 states of advisors, I used to tell them all the time, your clients are not going to care as long as you properly level set their expectations. So I would sit with clients and say, okay, I'm going to tell you the bad news first. This particular product has a 7-year surrender charge. You better like me because you're going to have to see me at least 7 more times.
Mm.
So it's like most people are like, well, I didn't even know it had a surrender charge when I'd go in and talk to them about, let's say, an annuity. They'd say, well, that person never even told me it had a surrender charge. But I can guarantee you when the next person went in to talk about whether they knew the one I sold them had one, oh, yeah, she told me. She told me I'm going to have to see her at least 7 times. you know. So it was always very transparent.
Yep.
And I felt like, because we had, in my opinion, in my life with my mother, because none of our options were ever good, we were never told the truth. We were always, smoke blowing up our skirts, and
Mm,
so I always felt like it might be hard to hear, but I was going to tell you the truth. um the only time that I got really taken aback is if I talked with, say, for instance, one of the spouses, like maybe the husband or maybe the wife, and I hadn't spoken with the other one, and they hadn't really told the other one what I was coming for. And let's say that one spouse had been really, really wanting to talk about either life insurance or long-term care. And I'd get in the house and say, okay, well, let's talk about it. So what kind of coverage do you already have? I mean, you have how much life insurance? And the other spouse would go, life insurance or long-term care. And I'd say, oh, I'm sorry. Did you not know you were going to die? So I might surprise them, at that. Go, okay, well, is this the first time you're knowing of it? Okay, well, I can certainly talk. Let's talk about morbidity. Let's go
yeah.
into the long-term care first. Do you think you might ever need to go into a nursing home or have care? And they were like, no, no, just shoot me. I go, okay, we're back on death now. Okay, well, so let's talk about, when do you think that'll be happening? And so I would just kind of make it
Yeah.
make it more of a, okay, well, so you did know you were going to die. Okay. And try to get them to where they had some levity to it. And they go, wow. Okay, well, so we're not going to make this a big deal. And I'd say, no, it's going to happen, right? Moses, there's only a couple of guys that just kind of floated up into heaven, right? I mean, it's not us, but those little, it's known fact. So they'd calm down about it a little bit and then get, looser with it. And then we might or might not talk about it a whole lot that night, but they at least got comfortable with the subject. And that's part of when I'm doing these family love letter events. Part
Mm,
of that is getting people comfortable with the subject.
yeah.
It's where is this stuff? You don't, just because you have all the stuff doesn't mean that you got to turn around and give it to somebody and say, okay, well, I'm out. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So,
Right. And
be
I
prepared.
do believe people think that, like, if I actually confront all this, then I'm out. And it's like, no, dude, you're just
No,
like living the rest of your life, like not having to worry about it. Now your quality of life is so much better because you have comfort in knowing you got your affairs in order.
it is. And then you just have to update it every once in a while. And
Yeah.
again, that's why the people that I've pulled in, all have different, like I said, different strengths. They have different experiences. They've all got a very strong caregiver attitude. Have all had caregiving in their veins, and have that. Hey, I want to see you through, not just through here. I want you to be okay.
Yeah.
It's a whole person, and that's what we're trying to do.
I love that. Yeah, I'll just end off with, like, for me, I'd rather know all the gritty, like, I don't want to know because now I have to deal with it, but I do want to know so that I make the best decisions for me and my group or my family or myself based off of the
The
correct
knowledge.
information,
Hmm.
because if you don't know and then you're just like hoping for the best, it doesn't fix the solution. And back in your brain, that too. So it's not like, even though I'm ignoring it and I'm like thinking I'm feeling good, you're really not, because you're
You're
not
not.
confronting it, you don't have the accurate information, and you're not taking the steps you need to, that you need to do as a responsible adult in your life.
And it's really alleviating from a
Mm,
pressure standpoint when you start to put all that stuff together and start to put it into
sure.
one place. And there's a box that we have that goes with it. It's a black box that with the booklet. We do have it on a thumb drive too, for those that are just digitally. We don't like to put it on a digital drive just because that can get hacked. But a lot of people do say, okay, well, I just absolutely want it on that. We just say, okay, take it off. Don't download it on your computer because everything's
Don't
on
save it to
there.
the cloud. Yeah.
Right, right. Don't save it to the cloud. Some people do have a vault inside of certain programs that I can have them downloaded into. But the point being is that once you do that, and you only have to update it once in a while, really they breathe easier,
Yeah.
and they don't realize how much they're going to breathe easier. So, and I do have some other things that help them with conversations. Try and if they're caring for someone that needs to do it, try to help them complete it and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
it is a process, and it's not fun. But any one of those, like I said, any one of them can kind of help usher in, for for the caregiver, if that's part of it. So like, hey, why don't we have somebody help us with this? And then it can help lead to just getting that help. And
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
one item, doesn't have to be all of them. Can just slowly edge them into, let's get some help with this, grandma, or let's get some help with this. And oh, maybe they could help us with that. So it starts building the trust and the
Yeah.
rapport.
Oh, I love that. So please tell our listeners where, out of those 500 platforms you just talked about, they can find you to get the help that they need. And I am super excited about this YouTube channel that's going to offer a lot of free advice too, because it's sorely
Needed.
missing in the world, and it's absolutely needed for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my website is the perpetualcaregiver.com, and I'll say all of the different pieces are all going to be up underneath that one website.
Mm.
So what I would tell them is to just go there, sign up, because the newsletter, all those things are being developed right now. I'm kind of having to bootstrap it since our investors aren't right on board right this second. So it's kind of, this week I'm getting this part done. Next week I'm getting that part done. And I have
Yeah.
some great, I'm part of the National Speakers Association. So I have some great friends that are far more talented than I am in technology, and they're helping me put together of all of the things that we're doing. So we just today decided on the name. The Perpetual Caregiver channel is going to be the name of our kind of trying to figure out, okay, do we get a brand this? So we've been having to kind of make those decisions, because I've got
Fun.
tons of content to already put on there.
That's awesome.
And so but as I said, it's great when you have all the money in the world and you just go boom. But now that I'm trying to take it a little bigger instead of doing it just one-on-one.
Sure.
But yeah, that's where they can, and I've got a sign up form in there. And so what we're doing is just collecting that information. And there's, my book's already available as well on Amazon. And the name of my book is Some Asses Just Need Wiping.
Oh, I love that. Did you do an Audible for it?
I haven't yet. That's in fact, I've got to call the guy at 4:30 today. He's been waiting. Taylor Sheridan has been borrowing his trailer that I need to actually do the Audible. So he called his guy down there. Yeah, we're Amarillo, so all that gets filmed around here. So he
Oh,
called the guy that's got it and said, Martin, could you please bring that thing to me Wednesday? It's been gone 30 days. I need that. She needs to record her book. So
yeah.
yeah.
And please tell me you're using your voice in
Yes.
the Audible. Yes. I
Yes,
love
yes.
that. I think everybody who writes a book should do it, the Audible in their voice as well, just so you can I feel like it impinges better. Like it sounds just like them. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and I have people tell me I sound like Holly Hunter and Reba McEntire and all that. So I told them, I
Yeah,
said, I've got to do it in my Texas twang. There's no way to get away with
absolutely.
that. So
People love accents. Like, absolutely. You need to do that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
last question. So,
sure.
any state can sign up, right? Like, because for me, my first thought is like, oh, yeah, but that's not California law. I mean, that's great knowledge, but that's
Well,
not California. Like, is your help going to be able
available
to
nationwide.
whatever state they live in? Yeah, whatever's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah, yeah. Because we're not going to be rendering any tax or legal advice. We
Hmm.
will have people to be able to refer. I do have contacts in every state in the union. Having worked for two Fortune 50 financial services companies, I have contacts across the country if it's actually something that needs to be done on either a legal or a if there's a product that needs to be involved. um, but with that being said, we're able to do the work together, and then if it has to be extended out to a professional, where it requires licensing, then we're able to make that referral. And I have plenty of folks where I can do one-on-one and help pick. I have helped many instances. I don't always make a marriage, but I make introductions, and then I kind of help the individuals figure out who they like best out of those individuals, and then I usually just work with that individual with them. I help continue to be, I guess I'll call it a liaison, but it's
Hmm.
not so much. It's mainly because I'm able to sit on the same side of the table with the client. And so it just puts me as their advisor. And then we kind of allow the financial advisor or the attorney to come in and present us with what their findings are or their recommendations are. And then I'm listening with the client saying, yeah, that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
We're both listening.
I love
And
that.
so
It's like you're their advocate. You're the in-person
exactly,
advocate. Like you got my back. Like I don't have to understand all this jargon because I know you do, and you got my back.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's exactly the role that I play now. And because I do, I have all the licenses to be able to do that. I'm not utilizing my 65, which I do have, but I'm not utilizing it. So it makes it a lot cleaner,
sure.
for not having to go through the FINRA stuff and all of that. It just allows me to represent represent the client, and an arm's length transaction with the advisors. And it
Yeah.
makes it all really, really clean. Doesn't muddy the waters. I'm not getting any money from them. So, that's really where everybody, has problems, is they're like, okay, well, who am I paying? You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
once that's real clear, then everybody's usually got a pretty clear idea who's representing who. But
Yeah. I love that.
yeah, so, and even with regard to, like, right now, I can't tell you how many people are like, well, can I really, could you tell me what I need to do about my homeowner's insurance? More than
Sure.
homeowners and car is more of what I get than anything else. Which is just a portion, but it is so huge in
It
regard to your
is.
cash flow.
It is.
So anyway,
It is. And like what I've seen is, you have like where I live, there's lots of trees. So carriers are just dropping people left, right, and center. And then, oh, there's nothing available except this policy over here. That's like 100 times what you were paying. And
or
so
the
to
fair
have
plan,
somebody, what is
or the
that?
California, don't y'all have the California fair plan where it's the state plan? Can't y'all
Oh, I
get
don't
just a
even
plan?
know.
Yeah. See, I don't know now. In Louisiana, which is where I lived for many, many years, we had this after Katrina. We just had the state plan, which was called the
Hmm.
Fair Plan, and that was where nobody would cover you, and the only place that would was the state. And then in Florida, they do the same thing. Now, I didn't know with the wildfires if that's what they did there, but I think that's what they're doing
Probably,
in LA.
probably.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think in
because
LA,
of,
that's all you
what
can
happened
get.
down in Southern California, what's
Yeah,
happened in our backyard, I would not doubt that
yeah,
being,
the
the
case.
solution.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which again,
So,
we know that means super high deductible, very little coverage. It's like, yeah,
well, the main thing's your premium, because
yep,
you may have a $10,000 deductible, which, okay, in comparison to what your risk is, that you might even could live with that. But is your premium really going to be $120,000? I mean, really? I just, so I mean, the
in
problem
California,
has
yes, it
been,
is. Yes,
I
it is.
know, I know, and the thing about
Yeah,
it is, and what I've tried to explain to people is, it's not, the problem has been a 20-year issue of experience, and has been a 20-year issue of reinsurance experience. It is a whole industry problem.
yeah,
And it's going to take people sitting down for 2.5 hours and going, how much carpet do you have?
yeah,
How much tile do you have?
yeah,
I mean, I hate to say that, but I will say this: the property and casualty agent field that herd has thinned considerably, because nobody wants to sit around and do that. But that's the only way the underwriters are going to start placing business,
oh,
is for you to sit
wow.
down and go, how much carpet do you have?
Yeah,
Because they're coming and
yeah,
doing inspections now. So,
yep,
but it's going to take 10 years. I'm
yep,
telling you, for it's finally starting to level out just a little. I think the rates are going to level out a little bit in some places. Texas is really bad. Going to level out a little bit, but it's going to take 10 years of people saying, how much carpet do you have,
yeah.
for it to straighten out. So,
Okay.
but anyway,
I'll set my clock on that.
okay, hon,
And in the
I'll come
meantime,
back.
I'll just refer to you, or I'll come to you for help with that stuff.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation, and
Me
I
too.
learned a lot. Like I'm ready to sign up. I need some help in some certain areas, and you sound like
Well,
the
we'll
right
talk
person
when
for
you're
it.
ready. We'll talk when you're
Awesome.
ready.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you
Well,
so
you have
much
a
for coming on the
you
show.
thank you for having me. Anytime.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.